The 8 games before that injury, he was big there when it comes to C.J. Stroud, so maybe he'll make a splash there in New England. Elsewhere, Christian McCaffrey, he's healthy. It looks like everything's pointing in the right direction for him, maybe getting back to the back we saw a couple years ago. But how confident if that fan base is looking at him at 23 and saying, are you going to be there for the whole season?
I think it should be lowercase c confident if you're talking about Christian McCaffrey, because that's been the rub with him. He's unbelievably electric. He's one of the cheat codes in the NFL when he's on the field. But that's the caveat, when he's on the field. And one thing that I found interesting when we're kind of dissecting all of this stuff with the benefit of the offseason having more time, you look at what Christian McCaffrey was able to do back in 2019. He led the NFL in touches, a first-team All-Pro season. He was age 23, but those next 2 seasons, he played 10 games, 3 in 2020, 7 in 2021, after he led the league in touches. Well, go back a couple of years ago, 2023 with the San Francisco 49ers. He led the NFL in touches. Last season, limited to 4 games. What does this season now bring when he's a little bit older? When we were talking about that, he was 23, 24, 25. Now, he's going to be in the late 20s, 29 years old in a couple of days here. So with Christian McCaffrey, of course, unbelievably important to the San Francisco 49ers offense, but will he be there for an entire season? That's going to be the question.
On the opposite side, they did make a trade. I'm not sure if it helps Christian McCaffrey, but maybe a defensive group that was depleted this offseason in terms of the Bryce Huff trade with the Eagles. A guy that got lost in a rotation for Philly last year during that Super Bowl run and returned a mid-round draft pick. But give me a grade here on what you saw between these two sides.
Yeah, for the 49ers, I'll give them a B+ here. Again, they're not paying the entire 3-year, $51 million contract. They're getting a guy on the cheap, and it's someone that they're familiar with. Because you got to remember, Robert Saleh is now with the San Francisco 49ers. Where Bryce Huff was the best was with Saleh in the New York organization. 10 sacks in 2023 helped kind of lead to that massive contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he comes in, a familiar player to that organization, to that coaching staff. Can they get him back somewhere close to that 10-sack season we saw in 2023? And I think it's possible. Again, they're not going to ask for him to be the steward of their pass rushing prowess. That's Nick Bosa. That's Mykel Williams, who they drafted number 11 overall. He can kind of be a situational player. So I like that for the San Francisco 49ers. For the Philadelphia Eagles, I give him a C+, which is kind of crazy. Howie Roseman, maybe he's human after all. Not the best signing there. But I will say credit to the organization for figuring out that this just wasn't a fit and getting out from under it and getting a team to pay a little bit of that salary and get a mid-round pick in return. So it certainly is not great seeing talent that you invested in leave with a little bit of a, uninspiring season, 2.5 sacks, healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. But credit to the organization for at least recognizing that and getting out.
We got about a minute here, but before I let you go, we got to talk about Kirk Cousins, because maybe the Falcons feeling a little pressure of trading Kirk Cousins. They paid him all that money last year, and then here comes Michael Penix, and he's a starter the remainder of the season. But right now, it's like, hey, Pittsburgh, we want him, but do we let him go? Do we feel strong and confident about Penix? You kind of talk about the bind here between these two sides.
Yeah, if I'm the Atlanta Falcons at this juncture, I wait. I think you wait it out, because the workouts throughout the NFL are only going to get more contentious, physical, opening the door for injury. And so if there's an injury that pops up for a starting quarterback, their team now gets desperate, that only brings the price up for Kirk Cousins. That allows a team maybe a little bit more willing to eat a lot more of that $27.5 million that he is guaranteed. So if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, yeah, a little bit awkward because you have Michael Penix there, but it was awkward last year too when you drafted Penix in the first round and you signed Kirk Cousins. So I think they're kind of comfortable being in the awkwardness at this point. If you're the Falcons, it may be better off to see what happens. Maybe Aaron Rodgers retires. Maybe an injury pops up somewhere in the NFL that boosts the value of Kirk Cousins. I think at this point, you might as well wait.
I mean, Atlanta said last year they liked it. They liked Kirk. They paid him all that money. They liked it. So we'll see what happens there moving forward. As always, Tyler Sullivan pushing the power will be the conversation starter.
Meanwhile, that team is still pushing on, and they're pushing on with Stefon Diggs, who is now showing up to OTAs after being absent last week. The veteran wideout, of course, made his waves on the boat, pun intended, over that first week of OTAs. Diggs is working his way back from a torn ACL he suffered halfway through last season. Those Patriots wide receivers could use some work. Maybe Stefon Diggs can help when he does become healthy and available. Last in the NFL last season in receiving yards, 28th and tied for 28th when it comes to receptions and total TDs with just 10 of them.
All right, for more of the Patriots, our New England insider there, Tyler Sullivan, tapping in to get us on the same page as pen and paper. And Tyler, of course, Diggs is in the house, looks healthy. We've seen all the videos on social media and then the other stuff off field, as Zach kind of mentioned there. But just to see him in attendance and ready for OTAs, your thoughts on his arrival?
Yeah, well, it would seem that things are smoothing over between him and the organization since that online video surfaced. So you'd see his presence finally at OTAs. And this isn't the first time that Stefon Diggs has been at Patriots OTAs. It was the first time that he was there when it was open to the media. But you go back, I believe it was on May 22nd, he was at a closed-door OTA session for New England. So he's been around, maybe not as much to us, but overall he's been with the New England Patriots. And to see him live and in person on the field for the Patriots, it's encouraging because as you show that graphic, the Patriots need him. They really do. As much as we talk about this team maybe on the comeback in 2025, it really starts with Stefon Diggs and whether or not he can help lift this offense that has not had a 1,000-yard receiver since 2019 in Julian Edelman. And as much as we talk about Stefon Diggs elevating, I'm curious to see how he can elevate the players around him, specifically that wide receiver room. It is a young room. That's kind of one of the stories here. As much as we talk about Stefon Diggs, the maturing of the guys that we saw last year, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, Kyle Williams, who they drafted this year, a lot of young players that Stefon Diggs could help mold. And now that he's here, you're starting to kind of see that. There's videos circulating of him helping Jalen Polk with certain drills yesterday. So overall, it's encouraging to see him on the field, working with Drake May, working with those young receivers to help this offense bounce back in 2025.
And we saw what he did in Houston there that 1 year.
Meanwhile, New England Patriots center David Andrews is also hanging him up. Andrews was released back in March after playing 9 seasons in New England and winning 2 Super Bowls. Here's some of what he had to say at his farewell press conference on Monday.
I wrote this down, so I'm going to try to get through it. At the start, all right, here we go. When I knew this day was coming, I was thinking about what I wanted to say. As you can see, there's a lot of emotions. The one that kept sticking out to me was gratitude. When I look back on the 26 years I've been blessed to play this game, that's really all I could think about. Especially playing O-line since I was 6 years old. You learn very quickly. It's not about you, but it's about the team.